I'm not sharing my screen.
So press nice and loud. So we need to figure out how it's the same and how it's different. So the first thing I want you to do is we're going to reread paragraph 5. It's on page 5 in your packet. Or not in your packet, in your booklet. So this one, I want you to flip to page 5. So go to page 5. Page 5 in your booklet. So everyone right now should be open to page 5. Page 5. Page 5. So those friends on Zoom, we're going in our booklet to page 5. So was that ready to bring it up on the screen? So page 5, paragraph 5. Okay. So we should all be right now on page 5. 1 second. Just have to bring it up. Okay. So let's start here. So everyone on the screen, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so we can all see. But see where there's the 5 right here? That's where we're going to be reading that paragraph. So listen carefully.
Short read 1. Remember,
Bell brought his telephone to the 1876 World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He called it an electrical speech machine. People were amazed at Bell's work. The leader of Brazil, Emperor Pedro II, was at the fair. When he heard sound through the telephone wire, he dropped the phone. "It talks!" he cried out.
Okay. So from this paragraph, in paragraph 5, so we need to think about what details are important. So we're going to think about what has been included in here. So Bell brought his telephone where? Where did he bring his telephone? Yes.
At the World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, to the 1876 World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We don't need to write anything down yet, but let's just keep that in our brain because I think that might be important. He called it an electrical speech machine. People were amazed at his work. Okay, let's remember that. People were very impressed, including the leader of Brazil. So, we're comparing this paragraph, and now we need to flip to paragraph 8 for when it sings. So, everyone flip to page 16 in your booklet. So, look at the bottom. See how it says 5? We're going to go to 16 now for other stories. Page 16, paragraph 8. So see where it says 8 here? I'm going to zoom in so we can see it. At the top where it says great inventions. So everyone should be page 8. Page 8. So following along, page 8. Or page 16. And then 8. Page 16, paragraph 8.
Great Inventions. In 1876, Edison attended the Centennial Exhibition World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He displayed one of his automatic telegraph machines. It could send messages at high speeds. Edison also displayed an electric pen with a tiny motor. It was used to make copies of documents. This invention got a lot of attention at the exhibition and won awards for its innovative design. While at the fair, Edison was inspired by what he saw. His visit sparked many new ideas. Edison was especially curious about a device on display called a telephone. Invented by Alexander Graham Bell, this device transmitted the sound of the human voice over wires.
Okay, so do we see anything similar in this that was mentioned in the last paragraph? Do we see something that they both talked about? What do we think? Chris?
Edison attended at the
Centennial
Centennial
Exhibition?
World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so they both attended the same thing. They both went to the Centennial Exhibition. So that's something that we could write that is going to be similar. What else? Do we see anything else? Let's just even think about did they both bring something?
Yes.
What do you think? Yes.
They both brought an invention.
Yes, they both brought an invention. Very good. Yes, they both brought an invention to the fair. Now, they both brought different things, so that's some of the things that we can put on the different side, on each of the different sides. They brought different things. What did Alexander Graham Bell bring? What did he bring? Do you remember what he brought, Ben? Yeah, he brought the telephone. And remember, people were amazed with his work, including Emperor Pedro II. But what about my other, what about Edison? What did he bring? Leo?
The telegraph?
He brought a telegraph machine. Very good. He also brought something else. Do you remember? It's right in front of us, too. It's on this page. Justin?
An electric pen with a tiny border.
Yeah, he brought an electric pen. So they both brought inventions, but they brought different inventions.
Yes.
And then did his electric pen how did people receive it? Did they say, "Oh, I don't like this"? Or how did they receive it? Did they say, "Oh, I don't want to see this"? Or did they say, "Oh, this is really cool"? Let's see what it says in the text.
They said, "Ooh."
So Edison also, right here,
Edison
also displayed an electric pen with a tiny motor. It was used to make copies of documents. Can somebody read right here? Let me draw a line. Starting here with this. Can somebody read that sentence for me? Nice and loud. Yorick?
This invention got lots of attention from the exhibit and won awards for its
Innovative?
innovative design.
Yes. So this invention got a lot of attention, just like Alexander Graham Bell's. But the difference is it won awards. So it won special awards for the design. Okay. And the last thing that I want us to think about, who was inspired by Bell's telephone? What do you think? Who was inspired by Bell's telephone? Alfredo? Yeah, Edison was inspired by it. So that's something that makes it a little bit different because that wasn't mentioned in our first one. So let's go ahead. We're going to write some of these things down. So I want us to make sure that we have our packet that looks like this, close reading purpose. Yes?
Instead, can we underline them so then you can remember them and put it in your pocket?
Sure. Would you like to underline some of them?
Mhm.
So for this one, Amalette just suggested something that's a great learning tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to underline some of the things that we just talked about, and then we're going to write it, because I like that suggestion that Amalette, she gave that idea. I like that. So, it's a little bit easier if I do it over here. So some of the things we talked about for this one, so I want you to underline these things first. So in 1876, Edison attended the Centennial Exhibition. So that's something I want us all to be underlining right now. So everyone should be underlining that first one on page 16, I believe it is, and paragraph 8. Yep, you should all be underlining. Do you have a question? What? Very quickly. Next, he displayed one of his automatic telegraph machines. So that's his invention. That's his invention that we were talking about. We also need to underline his second invention that Edison brought. Yes, Ben? Say that again. They both mention the telephone. Very good. Yes, they both do mention the telephone. So, we'll talk about that. We'll put that in the both also. But Edison displayed an electric pen with a tiny motor. So that's his second invention that he brought. Then, this invention got a lot of attention and won awards. So we should all be following along. And then our last part that I want us to underline that's really important is Edison was especially curious about a device on display called a telephone. So he was especially curious about a device called a telephone. So make sure that you have those underlined. I love Amalette's idea for us to underline that so that way it can stay in our brains. Okay, we're going to go back. Make sure you have it underlined. You can raise your hands and please wait. This is Mason. Okay, I'm going to go back to the other one.
Just the upper grade recess, guys, ending. You're fine. Keep going.
Okay, so go back to page 5. Page 5. So go back to page 5 right now, and we're going to underline the information from Alexander Graham Bell. So page 5. So for this one, Bell brought his telephone to the World's Fair. So this is the same fair. This is the same fair that was mentioned in our other paragraph. So let's go ahead and underline that. Bell brought his telephone to the 1876 World's Fair in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So everyone should be on that page. Page talks about the invention that he brought. He called it an electrical speech machine. We know what that is today, called the telephone.
Or a phone.
Yes, the telephone, perfect. But that's what he called it. That's what it was first called. And just like Bell, just like Edison, people were amazed at his work. Now, it doesn't say that he won any awards, but people were still amazed by it, including an emperor of Brazil. So make sure you have those underlined. Make sure you have those underlined just like I did. Okay. So now that we have those underlined and we know what is similar and what is different, once you have those underlined, I want you to go ahead and look at your packet. The one that says close reading purpose. So this one. And we're going to fill this out together on the document camera. So I want you to have this in front of you. I do. Once you have it underlined, okay? So friends on Zoom, I want you to have this packet out. Joyce, Geraldine, Julieta. Once you have what's on the screen underlined.
I got it. Got it.
Okay, I'm going to take this off and put on the document camera. Okay. Okay, so first, at the top of our page, so we have close reading purpose. Alexander Graham Bell, it talks. So, we're writing the things, how about we start with writing the things that are the same? So, in the middle, where it says both. What are some of the things that we can think of right now that were the same? We talked about it. Now let's write it. What's something that we talked about? Alfredo? Yes. So they both attended the exhibition. So one of the texts called it World's Fair. The other one called it the Centennial Exhibition. It's the same thing. So we're going to write that for our first one. So everybody be looking at the screen right now. That's great. Let's see. No. There we go.
Yes.
I'll make sure it's straight. Okay. So both attended the exhibition So both attended the exhibition in Philadelphia,
Pennsylvania.
Philadelphia is a place.
Oh yeah, it's like a state.
It's not a state, it's a city, but yes. Philadelphia in 1876. So everyone needs to be writing that in under both. Everyone needs to be writing that. Both attended the exhibition in Philadelphia in 1876. I My friends on Zoom, you can see this, yes? Thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, good. Okay, so make sure we have that written. Now, what's the second thing that they both had in common? Both of my paragraphs. Let's think about what they brought or who they were. What was special about them? Omelette?
That they were both inventors?
Yes, they were both inventors. Very good. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit. And for our second one, we're going to write both are inventors. So everyone should have that right now. So say that again.
Have it written.
Perfect. Good job. So both attended the exhibition in Philadelphia in 1876. Both are inventors. Raise your hand if you need more time. Okay. I'll give you like a couple more seconds, 30 more seconds to finish writing that. Those of you who are waiting, think about some of the differences in your brain. Think about some of the things. One second. Think about some of the differences. So let's think about Alexander Graham Bell. How was his different than Thomas Edison? I'll call on you in 1 second. I just want to wait for our friends who are finishing writing. Just keep that in your brain, and I'll call on you in 1 second. You have a question, Ben? Or is this for the next thing? The next thing? Okay. I'll call on you in 1 second. Okay. Does anybody else need more time? Okay. So for Alexander Graham Bell, what's something that made it different than the other thing? Than our other paragraph? What's one thing that was different? What do we think? Ben? No, I want him to say it. He was old, yes. But what's something else about him? That's a good point. No troubling. No.
It's actually really good because remember the other guy, you guys, he had lots and lots and lots of years that he was able to do inventions, but Alexander Graham Bell didn't, huh?
So that's a good point. Yes, Ben. Absolutely. And what was he known for? Okay, yes. And did he invent anything? Yeah, he did invent the telephone. So, how about we write that for our first one? So, because he brought to the World Fair, he called it the electrical speech machine. So that's what we're going to write because that's what it was first called. Before he named it the telephone, it was first called the electrical speech machine. And then we'll write our second one. 1 second. After we write that one, I'll call on you next. Okay, so Bell presented instead of writing the telephone, because that's not what it was first called, we're going to write electrical speech machine. sure to write that on Alexander Graham Bell, It Talks. So Bell presented the electrical speech machine. Okay, for my second one, so for this one I want us to be thinking about, did people, when they saw his electrical speech machine, say, well, what is this? I don't like this. Or were they really, how did they react? What do you think? Leo?
Happy because they wouldn't talk to each other and they had to walk miles and miles.
So you were right to say that they were happy. Why do you think that they were happy?
Because so they don't have to go somewhere to talk to people.
Oh, so you're saying they were excited about his machine? Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So people were amazed by his work, and I'll be impressed if anybody can remember this name. This is kind of a tricky name, but does anybody remember the name of the special person who was impressed by it?
What?
There was a special person. Does anybody remember? Christian? That's true. What Thomas Edison was, absolutely. That's not who I was thinking of, but you're right. You are right. But there was another person who was really impressed, and he was somebody really special. Justin? Yeah, Emperor Pedro II. So he was the leader of Brazil, and he was very impressed by it. So we're going to write, people were amazed by his work. People were amazed by his work, including, let me switch this up, including Emperor Pedro II. And that's what that line means. It means the second.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you need more time. Okay. Have a question? Or do you need more time? What's your question?
What happened is Thomas Edison.
That's okay. You have with your question. You need more time? Okay, just keep going. Okay, I'm going to give you like 15 more seconds to write it. And then we're going to go to our next one. So the reason why people were, the reason why this is on the different side, that it's not in the both, because people were both amazed by their work. But Alexander Graham Bell, he didn't win any awards at the fair for his telephone, but Thomas Edison did win an award. So that's why it's going to be on the, instead instead of being in the middle where it's both, it's going to be on the separate side. So it makes it different. Okay, I'm going to go over to our next one. Okay, so let's go to Thomas Edison. It sings. So, for Thomas Edison, what's something that you thought is going to be in this category, where it's something that was different than Alexander Graham Bell? What did he present or bring that was different? What do you think? Harry? Okay, he brought up, did you say the pen? Yeah, so that's one of the things he brought. Absolutely, yes. So his electric pen, he brought his electric pen. We're going to write that 1 second, but because that's the second thing they talked about. But yes, you're right. He brought his electric pen. What's the other thing that he brought? What's the other thing that he brought? Jeremy? Yes, so he brought the automatic telegraph machine. So let's write that one first. So Edison displayed the automatic telegraph machine. So Edison displayed the automatic telegraph machine. And then, like Harry said, his electric pen, he also brought his electric pen. Now, his electric pen was special because, like we talked about just a second ago, Alexander Graham Bell at the Philadelphia exhibition didn't, even though people were very impressed, it didn't win any awards. But Thomas Edison, his electric pen received something. Do you know why it was special? It won awards. So we're going to write that for our second one. His electric pen was popular and won awards. So his electric pen was popular and won awards. I'm going to move it up just a little bit in a second, so make sure you have the one about the automatic telegraph machine written.
You're asking Lisa. She's the teacher right now.
Can you not see it right now? To see it? Yes, you can.
Don't forget to mute, okay? Okay,
I'm going to move it up a little bit. Okay. Now, his electric pen was popular and won awards. Now, Chris being impressed with Bell's telephone. Who did you mention, Christian? Yeah. So that's one way that makes our text different too, because it mentions that Edison was inspired by Bell's telephone. So that's the last reason that we're going to put that makes them different. So Edison was inspired by Bell's telephone.
Eddie, come with me outside.
So
Eddie, come with me.
Edison was inspired by Bell's telephone. So make sure you write that. And that's a way that the texts were different too.
I'm still here if it's for.
No, this is her student teacher, Mrs. Mathis, but she's still here. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. You need to bring this back.
He does read that from that.
Yeah. Hi, Dominic. Oh, you're here. I thought you were, I don't know why I thought you were on Zoom. I thought you were at home for a second. That was silly. That was silly of me. Yes, Christian? How far? Okay, yes, we can. How far are you though? Are you almost done? Okay, if you're almost done, this is the last part of it that we're going to be doing for this one. The rest I'm going to put on the screen. So if you can just finish this one, that'll be easier. Okay, then yeah, you don't need it. Okay, so now that once you finish that, I want us to look at our bottom page where it says apply it. Okay, so everyone look at that one. So I'm going to move this. Okay, so it says, you read Alexander Graham Bell, It Talks. Everyone should be looking at this question. So, it talks, and Thomas Edison, it sings. Mark a B next to the sentences that show what the two texts have in common. So we just talked about that. So this should be easy for us, right? So B means both. So at the exhibition, Bell showcased his electrical speech machine. The inventors attended the 1876 World Fair in Philadelphia. Edison's electric pen was popular. The inventors presented their inventions. Edison was inspired by Bell's telephone. Okay, so what are the ones that we're going to be putting a B? Putting a B next to for both. What do you think? Look at the question. Which ones were in the middle column, meaning that they mentioned it in both of the paragraphs we we read. Justin?
The inventors represent the 1876 World Fair in Philadelphia.
Perfect. Yes, Justin. Awesome. So, we're going to be putting a B next to that one. The inventors attended the 1876 World Fair. They both did that. So, I'm going to put a B there. I have one more that is going to have a B. Does anybody know? Layla? Yes, the inventors presented their invention. So you should have a B next to both of those. Leo? I don't see a B on there. So it's at the, yeah. So it's at the very bottom of what we were just working on. So not that one. It's at the very bottom of where we were writing the both and the it box. So, and it's important to remember one passage was from the point of view of Bell and the other one was from the point of view of Edison. Okay. So, what I want us to do now, we're going to stop with that right now, and we're going to go ahead, and do the review. So let's go ahead, flip to the review in your packet. So flip to the review.